Go, 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 go.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires.
Still there, inside.
What a jump! What a jump!
The track is wet. It's good.
Still there, clear.
3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Foreign Fuel Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Caplupo, joined by Steve Ray, Wesley Riddle, and Sam Dooley. We are here for a 2311 Racing 2026 preview podcast, talking about the three drivers at 2311, Bubba Wallace, Riley Herbst, and Tyler Reddick. Now, in 2025, 2311 Racing had 112 races. So you had a few with the part-time driver of Corey Heim. So in 2024, the team had 75 races. So the addition of Riley Herbst into 35 going full-time gets you that many more races. This season, they had one win, 13 top fives, 29 top tens, an average finish of 19.8, an average start of 18.7, 2 poles, and 549 laps led. The big news in 25 for them was their lawsuit against NASCAR and the whole charter agreement. It ended in a settlement, which seemed to benefit the teams especially, and they regained charter status after losing them in July of 2025. So we will start with the highest finishing driver in points, Tyler Reddick. He finished 9th in the championship standings, went a little down from his championship 4 appearance in 2024, where he finished 4th. He did not win in 2025 after getting 3 wins in 24. He had 7 top 5s, 14 top 10s, an average finish of 14.47, an average start of 12.2, 2 poles, 1 DNF, and 169 laps led. Now, all the stats seem to really go down for Tyler Reddick, but kind of understandable with the whole deal with the lawsuit, losing the charter status, his future kind of being up in the air for a little bit because in his contract, he has to be funded in a chartered car or he is free to go elsewhere. So there was a point there where if another team was really desperate enough to poach him, they technically, legally could have. And also did face some challenges with the health of his newborn son, Rookie. Seems like Rookie's making a recovery, so that's good to hear. We haven't really gotten any updates as of late, which is usually better than getting bad updates. So, Tyler Reddick, I'd expect to see him run better in 2026, hopefully kind of like a fresh new start and possibly getting back to where he was in 2024.
Yeah, I really think that overall the 45 team took a step back. I don't know kind of what the answer to that is. It just kind of felt like execution was down across the board for the 45. But it wasn't across the organization because the 23 probably had a better year. And pretty much all of the categories, or at least on par with last year, plus the win that the 23 car had. So it wasn't an organizational issue. It just for some reason the 45, whether it was Reddick with obviously facing things off the track is it makes life a lot more difficult. And it kind of it could make you struggle on the track, but it just felt like overall, and it wasn't just him. It felt like his execution was down as well throughout the team. Felt like when they needed a good pit stop, they couldn't get a good pit stop. It felt like uh, when they needed him to perform, he just wasn't quite there. Um, Now, overall, it wasn't like an awful season. It wasn't a terrible season. He still had 14 top 10s, 7 top 5s. But when you're coming off of a year with 12 top 5s and 21 top 10s, basically you were in the top 10 for, 2/3 of the season, finishing wise, and you had 3 wins and you made it to the final 4. You come off all of that, your expectations are set high, and then you just kind of don't attain them. It was a May year. But I think that it's just as simple as execution and honestly getting in the right headspace for 2026 because with the charter deals and the pending lawsuit and everything with of course with having the son which is the most important part that would definitely affect you a lot on the track is worrying about the health of your son. Um, it can get to you. They just I feel like 26 just wipe everything away from 2025. Just start fresh, clean slate, take a deep breath, be you, go out and execute, and just be Tyler Reddick. Because Tyler Reddick is a good driver. He is a really good driver. He's shown himself to be a upper echelon of the Cup Series driver. Um, and he just needs to go out there and execute, and hopefully, Lord willing, he won't face as many challenges as he did this year. Because that kind of felt like the tail of the tape there is that everything off the field or off the track was really kind of the issue. But just start 26 with a fresh mindset, in my opinion. I think that'll be enough. I don't think it's a problem with the cars. I think the cars are fast enough. He just needs to go out there and execute. That team needs to go out there and execute.
I still don't think Tyler Reddick gets the props he deserves just with what he's been able to accomplish for 2311. Even his tenure at Richard Childress Racing, like he was taking a car with Richard Childress that ran, subpar. I like, the team in that era when he stepped in was not performing well, and he was able to get 3 wins in 2022 alone, the first year of the next gen. Um, and obviously, you both mentioned it, the personal issues this year. I feel like that's something that definitely played a factor. I don't want to speak for him, but what you battle personally off the track, this is a sport where it has more of a significant impact when you're behind, when you're actually performing as the athlete behind the wheel in this instance. So for him, I feel like that probably played a factor. Um, Additionally to, of course, the lawsuit, but he's a very talented driver. I think there's times when he shows up at the racetrack on certain weekends where you can consider him the best driver in the field. Like comparable to Blaney, comparable to Larson, comparable to Hamlin. He's right there, and he's taking a team, that uh we don't consider one of the top three in the sport, and he's outrunning them. Like, and there were times that he showed comparable speed. But yeah, this year was a little bit off. So I think he'll be uh back to kind of the standards we expect from him, and I think he'll be able to knock off a couple wins. So we'll get to that here in a minute, but I think that 26 is going to be a good year for him.
All right, over under Tyler Reddick 2.5 wins. Does he get back to that 3 win mark that he hit in 2024?
I'm going to take the under on it just because 25 was a little bit of a down season. I think it's going to take a little bit for them to get going again in 26. Now, I do feel like that they're going to get back to victory lane. I just don't feel like that they're going to get to the 3 mark. So I'm going to take the under.
Give me the under as well. But I'll take 2 wins. I think for certain two. I feel confident in that, and I think that depending again on the playoff format, I feel like with it going to Homestead, if he's in the hunt, he is a threat easily for the championship. So give me 2 wins. Not a dominant season, but I think he'll be consistent enough, and then show up when it counts to be able to be a real threat.
I'm gonna take the over. I'm changing the status quo here, because I feel like someone that's that good everywhere, um, and if when you're competing up front the way that he does, and I think that he'll bounce back to be again this year. Um, I think that you're at least gonna back your way into a couple, right? Because he's always up there. And absent of this year, where we've talked about all the different things that he was dealing with. Um, I think that if his team goes out there and executes, and he goes out there and executes, he can easily get 3 wins, 3 or 4. I don't necessarily think he's going to go out there and you know have a stellar season to where he's the number one guy, like a Denny Hamlin type of season where he gets, rattles off 5 wins or whatever he had. But I feel like you could probably get him in there for 2 or 3. I think it's around the 2.5 area. It's a good over under. But I'm going to take the over. Probably put him at 3 wins. Maybe he gets a fourth. But I think it's going to be a good bounce back season for Reddick.
I think I'm gonna roll just under 2. I think 2 wins is the right number for that 45 team. Knows things can go his way. Get a lucky caution when you're running second, third, towards the end of a race. Get a good pit stop, good restart, possibly sneak another win in there.
That's going to take us to our 11th place points finisher. So he was a couple spots behind, but Bubba Wallace. Definitely a real good season. I feel like this was definitely the best season that he's had speed wise and just performance wise throughout the course of the race. It didn't really show though with his average finish, 18.5. But he was able to get one win this season that came at the Brickyard. Always impressive to see somebody get the win at Indy because it does take just the ability to hold your position and that restart that he had with Kyle Larson, just being able to execute that against arguably the best driver in the sport was incredibly impressive. So early in the first half of the year, I think he was ranked number one with raw speed. Kind of slumped there in the summer, but then the Indy win right around that time, he showed some really good pace, incredible speed at Richmond. But circumstances I think took him out. I can't remember if it was a pit road penalty or a flat tire, but something that Richmond bit him. But that second half of the year, he was able to pick it back up. 6 top 5s, it tied his prior season, but he could have had a lot more. I think if he just was able to get to the finish line a little bit better, clean up some mistakes. 14 top 10s, also matching last year or 2 years ago in 2024. I mentioned his average finish. His average start was a little bit worse, so a little bit slower there off the gate, but still great speed throughout the course of the races. And I feel like that's going to be something important heading into the new year. Didn't have any poles and had a lot of DNFs. That was, of course, what hurt him. But he was able to lead 378 laps, up from 139 in 2024. The note that we have here, of course, Bubba is looking for his first multi-win season, and I feel like that's something that for him, it's always been an issue finding momentum. It seems like, a lot of people say, you get your first win, you're able to kind of build off it. For him, it kind of comes in waves where he'll have momentum for a few weeks, and then when he has one bad week, it bites him for a few more after. So for him, it's really just getting consistent and trying to, not get in your head when you have a bad day. Don't make the bad days worse. He didn't really do that this year and was caught up in a lot of stuff that really wasn't of his own doing. I feel like that kind of hurt him more, similar to that of Ryan Blaney. But yeah, just need to be able to connect more races together. And I feel like if he can just figure out how to do that, some of him, some on the team, and then obviously the distractions that came with this year, I think that he'll be able to put together another great season. So, there were times he outran Tyler Reddick, and looked, one of the best drivers in the field. And I think that if he can do that, he'll be able to put up, maybe double the stats. He's the driver that could do that. He could easily double his top 5s, double his top 10s, and get maybe 2 or 3 wins. But we need to be able to see him, I think go out and even dominate a race. Just dominate one race like he did at Texas the one time, even though he didn't win. Kansas his win. Indy more positional. It was impressive, but just go out and lead the most laps like he did at Richmond and just get to the finish line first. If he does that, he's going to be a really competitive driver this season.
Yeah, with Bubba, I felt like this season was a maturity season. It felt like, of course, having his first kid and all of that during the off season. He talked about how it made him grow up, and he saw it from a different life from a different light, especially in racing. So it felt like a maturity season. It felt like a season where he improved, even though the numbers don't necessarily say it. Those 9 DNFs really have a lot to do with it. Once again, execution. Even those are on him as well. Not, I mean, those can't all be on the team, but the team needs to execute better. He needs to execute better. Everyone kind of to get that momentum that Wes was talking about. But it's insane where I think year 8 or 7 or 8 or whatever of Bubba's career, and we're still talking about him progressing in this way. Um, just because he wasn't in the greatest spot at when he was in the 43 car, and then he got to 2311 and he was the flagship guy, and he was there, and he had to, this team as it grew, he kind of grew with it. Um, and it kind of feels like Bubba's really hitting his stride right here. He looked really good when he looked good, and then it kind of looked bad when it looked bad. 26 needs to be a year of more consistency, especially obviously if there's a different format where you need a season long, some sort of season long points, whether that be a chase format or a full race a format, depending on what that is. You need that consistency in there that Bubba seemed to lack this year. And it's kind of been the tail of the tape of what we've kind of seen from him. Not very consistent, but he shows raw speed a lot. Um, just 2026, he just needs to take another step forward. Just put one foot in front of the other and just kind of work on consistency. Work on he's there at the end of races. Like he's there. He's got the speed, especially during the middle of races. Be there at the end of races, um, and just take advantage of the opportunities that you're given. Um, I think that overall this team can improve just from execution, like I was harping on with the 45. I mean that's kind of a blanket statement. You can say that about anyone, but that kind of seemed like the Achilles heel of both of these top dog 2311 cars. Was they just needed to execute as a team better. Um, and yeah, like I think that Bubba could have a good season going into next season, and kind of build off of this momentum and try and get some season long momentum started for next year.
Yeah, consistency is key. He had one stretch of at least three races where he finished inside the top 10 in at least three consecutive races. It was a four-race stretch where it was Dover, Indy, Iowa, and Watkins Glen, where he got four consecutive top 10s. But he had a stretch of four races right before that where he finished outside the top 20. And then in May, he had three straight races of finishes outside the top 30. So just need more consistency in the top 10, stringing those races together. And if he could do that next season, he's definitely going to be a top 10 driver when it comes, all said and done in the point standings, no matter what format you run. So we said that Bubba's still looking for his first multi-win season. So the line is 1.5 wins this season. Does Bubba finally break through and get multiple wins this year?
I want to take the under on this as well, but I do think that he gets one this year. I think, like Sam alluded to, this was, 25 was a big learning or growing season for Bubba. Certainly, 9 DNFs doesn't help. One out of every four races you're DNFing. That's not going to help your statistics with that. But I will say that overall, I mean, he did get his win at the Brickyard. You look overall at the season, and I think during the first 80% of races, Bubba would be up front. It's just like that last 20% of the races where things kind of fell apart. And that was kind of the MO for the 23 team, was just the last 20% of the race was where things would kind of derail from there. I do think, he easily could have won the fall Kansas race had him and Denny not gotten into it on the last lap. So there were multiple opportunities. He was really fast at Richmond. There were multiple opportunities for them to have multiple wins in 2025. I do think that we see Bubba getting into victory lane in 26. I just think it's going to be one time. So I'll take the under.
And I'm going to stick with that as well. I'm going to take the under. I do think that he can get a win on a mile and a half. I think he can, uh, the Kansas you just mentioned, Steve, or go out there at Texas like he did a few years ago. Just needs to just execute from start to finish. If he can do that, and especially at the mile and a halves, Martinsville, he's looked really good there. But I feel like aside from there, the mile and a halves are going to be his wheelhouse, his bread and butter. So I'll take one win throughout I think yeah, one win throughout the year.
Shocker, I'm gonna be different again. I'm gonna take the over. Not just because I'm wearing his hat, but I'm looking at um, kind of a guy that he could beat you at super speedways. He's proved that, like drafting tracks, excuse me. He can beat you at drafting tracks, mile and a halfs, like those really flowy mile and a halves, like Las Vegas, like Kansas. So those are the two I'm really looking at. Martinsville's another one. Um, Bristol, he can always show up. Like it feels like he's got. Obviously, I'm looking at this from a biased perspective, but I feel like he's got the talent to do it. He's got the talent to at least rip off 2 wins, right? Um, and just it feels like he's got the opportunity because that's what there's 2 Las Vegas, 2 Kansas, correct?
Hmm.
And then you've got 6 drafting tracks. So that's 10 out of 36 races that you know he's going to be in the top five in for a majority of the race, right? So I just feel like, um, once again, I'm looking forward to seeing 2311 as a whole kind of execute better, and the 23 car, um, the 23 team as a whole execute better when it comes down the stretch. And I think that Bubba will be able to get at least 2 wins.
I'm also going to go the over. I think 2 wins is attainable for that 23 team. Putting Charles Denick on the top of the box was a huge addition for Bubba and really helped in 2025, along with becoming a father and really just changing his whole kind of mental aspect, outlook throughout the season. So if 2025 has any indication of what's coming for 2026, I think he will for sure get 2 wins or even more than that.
Surprisingly, our episode doesn't end here because there was a third full-time car in 2311 driven by Riley Herbst. Now, buckle up for these statistics. He finished second to last in points, finished 35th in the point standings. 0 wins, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s. An average finish, we're still on 2311 here. An average finish of 26.39 in a 2311 car. An average start of 27. Through the entire 36 races, he only led 2 laps and had 5 DNFs. His best finish of 2025 was 14th at Texas, and he finished 17th 5 times. 3 of those being the first 3 races of the year. This was maybe one of the worst and overhyped stories of 2025 was 2311 expanding to a third full-time entry, Riley Herbst getting promoted from formerly the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series now. Great success from Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. There were all these expectations, and this was a complete failure. I can't even put an F. Sam, during the Penske episode, what did you say? It was Cindric was like an F minus minus
And
minus.
yeah, an F minus minus, like bad.
Yeah, I didn't think it could get worse than an F minus minus, but this is like the teacher doesn't even give you the paper back. It was that bad. This I'm just at a loss for words. I'm stumbling over my own words because I don't know what to say other than this is so bad of a season. Just to have the expectations and to have race cars that are built out of the same shop to have these results. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to the Rick Ware episode, but Cody Ware had more laps led than Riley Herbst. And Cody Ware was the only driver full time to finish behind Riley in points. But that's it. I mean, you're finishing behind, Noah Gragson, Ty Dillon, Cole Custer, Justin Haley. I mean, behind all these other guys in points, I don't even know what a realistic expectation would be for the 35 team because you had not even a single top 10 to go off of. So it's like that would have to be goal number 1 is let's just get one single top 10 out of this. But you cannot expect them to go out and lead laps, contend for races because they have really nothing to build off of from 2025. You even look at some of the races where you went multiple 2 races in a year and you think, okay, they finished 31st at the spring Martinsville race. Well, then in the fall, they finished 36th. Like, it's not like, oh, this is the driver's first time there in a cup car. We're going to improve the second time we go there. That just didn't happen. There's no bright light, no shining moment of the 2025 season for Riley Herbst and the 35 team. It was just truly one of the worst performances and overhyped expectations that just turned out to be a complete failure. And that's just sums up of the 35 team for 2025.
I know I've shared this stat before on a former podcast, but I wanted to pull it up. Herbst, he tied Kaz Grala for the worst best finish in a rookie season, which was 14th, since part-time Jeffrey Earnhardt in 2016. Do you all know what team Jeffrey Earnhardt drove for in 2016? That was Go Fast and BK. Neither team exists anymore. And two of the most underfunded teams in maybe NASCAR history. And then he was the worst best finish. He had the worst best finish of any full-time rookie since Cole Witt and Michael Annett in 2014. Again, our condolences out to Michael Annett. But guess who Cole Witt drove for? Cole Witt drove for Swan Racing and BK. Michael Annett drove for Tommy Baldwin Racing. I have nothing more to say than just it's unacceptable. And it's not because, it's not because I hate the guy, but there's a standard for a driver to race in the NASCAR Cup Series, and it's competition. I know a lot of it comes down to money, and we know his ride came down to money. It had nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with ability. I'm not saying he doesn't have any talent, but to race in the pinnacle of motorsports, you have to bring a resume, and he never had a resume and was given a ride. And there are so many more deserving drivers that could have a ride of that stature that could be able to perform. I think we'll get that driver in 2027, and I think the results will show within the first 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. But I could probably name you 20 drivers that would deserve that seat more, especially right in this moment, than the driver that's behind the wheel of the 35 right now.
Yeah, and just for reference, I mean, we're not even talking about Corey Heim and the couple races that he had in the 67 car, but he got a top 10 finish at Bristol in just, the first couple handful starts of his career. And he doesn't have a full-time ride. Riley Herbst is only in this car because of the monster money. That's the only reason why he has this ride in the first place. When you have a deserving driver in Corey Heim that could go out and could bring this car to some form of realistic expectations. And again, I agree with you, Wes. It's nothing against Riley personally. Sam would say that he's a good guy, but
Good guy, ass. Good guy, can't drive a race car. Sorry.
yeah. And so it's nothing against him. Like, I don't want him to go out there and fail every week, but when you have Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan as your team owners, but you provide these results as statistics, like, this is just next level bad right here. So they have to, not only do they have to improve, but they have to improve dramatically. They cannot be far off of Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I still feel like that they're going to be the most, the least performing car of the three this year, but they cannot be that far off from Reddick and Wallace this year if Riley Herbst wants any shot of being in that car in 2027, because if he doesn't perform, there's no reason to keep him in. I mean, we know that money talks, but there's no reason to keep him in over Corey Heim if we're just looking at talent.
Yeah, obviously you guys have stated it. It's bad. I just get my 2 cents on what kind of needs to happen in 26 to at least see improvement. Um, I need at least, 5 top tens, and I need a top five, and I need you to be top. I need your average finish to be in 22nd or better. Like, I'm giving realistic things that they can do. Like, and obviously that car it's on par with the other two that we're talking about having wins, and multi-win seasons and things of that nature, 15 top tens or whatever, top fives, whatever you name the stat. Um, I'm looking at realistic things you can do off of this bad of a season. Because obviously, I don't think Riley Herbst shows up to the track every day and is like, haha, I'm going to run it 30th and I only have my ride because I have this much money. It's obvious that everyone knows why he's there. And I think that like I said, from everyone that I've heard from, he's a good kid. He works really hard. Like he's showing up every day and putting in the work and it's just not showing up. And I can't imagine how frustrating that is for him. But you've also got to look at it. This is a results-based sport, and if you do not have the results, money can only keep you here for so long. So he needs to show. I need a 22 average finish, five top tens, and a top five. Finish 25th or better in points. Like that's all I need from you. I need you to seem like you're showing up as. I need you to be on par with the worst car at the rest of these that we've been talking about. Because, like, obviously, the last couple that we've got over are the big three of NASCAR. We've got over Hendrick, Gibbs, and Penske. So I need you to be maybe a spot or two off of their average finish, their worst guy, because their worst guy is being talked about being fired. So you being, this is off of Bubba. He was 8 full positions back at average finish, I think. Yeah. Actually, he was 8 full positions back. Like you've got to figure it out. Um, like I said, I don't know what needs to happen. Um, like Wes was talking about, wasn't really a resume there for him to be in that ride anyways. So it's it's not looking great for him. But if some way somehow, because like I said, he puts the work in. I've heard that from people. Like I know that he tries hard. It's just not showing up on Sundays. Um, whatever needs to change for him, I hope it does because we don't want to see someone fail like this in such epic proportions where you're in and out in 2 years, right? But it's got to get at least moderately better. You've got to show improvement in your sophomore year, or you are done. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
One last thing. Remember, I bought a hat from the 2311 merch hauler. I think that was at Charlotte. Yeah, they're selling merch that doesn't even have the 35 on their product. Like they don't even know that he's on the team. That right there should be a sign. I mean, I'm just saying. But I'll cherish that hat for that just for that special fact that he's not on it.
There are two champions that come to mind that finished second in the Rookie of the Year standings, just like Riley Herbst did. You look at Bobby Labonte in 1993, and you look at Jimmy Johnson in 2002. If you put the pieces together, I mean, Riley could be the future champion. Not saying he will, but it's
I
been
hate
done
to
before.
I hate to say it, but Kevin Conway has an award over Riley Herbst.
But he was racing himself.
I think Riley was too for last.
Well, the
When
over
you're at a
under.
point where no offense, Shane Van Gisbergen in the beginning part of the season, I'm not the end of part of the season, we'll get into Trackhouse and everything later on. But the end part of the season, SVG was really good at, or he showed a lot of improvement at ovals. But the beginning part of the season, SVG at ovals was outrunning him. That's something. I don't know what to tell you.
All right, so over under here for Riley Herbst, over under 1.5 top tens in 2026.
I'm only taking the over because we have 6 drafting tracks on there. And so you got to think for 2 of those, he's going to get ninth or 10th, right? So I'm only taking the over on that sheer fact.
And for that same reason, I'm actually also taking the over. I think that he'll have an improved year. It's not going to be I don't think it'll be a year where he finishes second to last in the standings. I don't think he'll get better than like fifth to last, just with the talent of the drivers that are ahead of him, and then just just with I think just his performance, it's not up to par. And definitely the weakest, or not the maybe number one weakest, but the weakest in the field. So I think he can get two, but I think both would come either at super speedways, maybe one at a road course. He does perform well at road courses, so I think you could throw one in there too.
I'll take the over as well for the same rationale that everyone else is using, drafting tracks, and maybe he rips one off at Las Vegas somehow and finishes 10th.
I will take the under. Just they're so far off, and I mean, when your average finish is 26, it's hard to find two top tens. It really is, and I mean, yeah, I mean, he
Thank you
wasn't
for finally having some common sense.
he wasn't quite as bad as Cody Ware. I mean, you guys made it seem like it was closer than it really was between him and Cody Ware. He was 163 points ahead of Cody Ware, so it wasn't like it was he just edged out Cody Ware for 35th. I mean, it's not saying too much, but I mean, I think he could get one. I think all right, my bold prediction is I think Riley Herbst will be in the top five going to the white flag of the Daytona 500. I'm not going to call a shot and have him winning the Daytona 500, but I think he'll be in the picture.
Just don't self-spin on the apron. Do you think Cody Ware would outrun Riley Herbst in a 2311 car
No,
100%.
if they
Not
swap
at all.
rides? I'm fairly confident.
I
in
mean,
that.
if they swap rides, yeah,
If they
but
swap rides, I think.
In a
Yeah.
2311 car,
I also think I think Cody Ware would score more points than Riley Herbst.
all
I think
right,
Cody
in a
Ware.
couple seasons.
this is
I
getting a
think
little
Cody
I just
Ware
gotta
has
say,
I think he has an average finish of 24th. That's what I think Cody Ware has.
that's Rick Ware Racing versus a team that probably has more money than almost any other team.
Well, Riley keeps the car on the track more than seems like Bubba Wallace did. So if there's one thing he's doing better than Bubba or really anybody, anything in 2311. So that's our 2311 Racing 2026 season preview. We'll be back Monday for Trackhouse Racing. Gonna talk some Trackhouse Racing there. If you aren't yet following us on social media, at Fort and Fuel Podcast on every social media platform. Goal is to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok by the Daytona 500. Help us get us there. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us 5 stars on there. Leave a comment on there. We welcome you guys on Apple. We're on Apple Podcasts now. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're liking, subscribing, and tell us what you think about 2311, whether you think it's you have a strong opinion about Riley Herbst or Bubba Wallace or Tyler Reddick. Let us know down in the comments. We'll make sure to interact with you. And for Sam, Wes, Steve, I'm Dom, and we'll see you Monday for Trackhouse Racing.